Hey folks, well, after the Leafs cleared out their lockers, the front office has already telegraphed some early decisions that will certainly have some big repercussions. We're going to break it all right down for you here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach, that's KD, and I'm the Diva. We're here to talk all things Leafs. Well, it appears Shanahan is sticking with Dubas, and it appears that Dubas is sticking with Keefe, despite another early exit from the playoffs. There's lots of ways to look at that decision. You can be critical of it, for sure. But the Leafs did have a tremendous season, 115 points, franchise record. They entered last offseason looking to improve special teams. I think we could say, they did improve in certain areas. So those were certainly areas where management maybe gets a check mark or a pass, but they didn't get through the first round of the playoffs. And ultimately, this is a winning the cup business, not just getting a little bit better business every year. So, KD, what do you make of MLSE announcing that they're going to run it back again?
Well, kind of disappointing. I mean, I think we are so close, but I think they're, for cathartic reasons, we probably want some sort of a change and not to dig our teeth into it. I would say, kind of ironically, Detroit Red Wings were considered a choke team, and Stevie Yzerman couldn't win the big game until the year they brought Brandon Shanahan in and his tough guy, goal scoring down low, jamming the greasy goals in the playoffs. Arguably he was the one who pushed them over the top to get to the promised land. Yet he doesn't seem to want to kind of do it himself. So we'll have to see. I mean, I think for the most part, Dubas has been pretty good at working around we'll call it maybe his mistakes. If you say he signed the core, maybe he spent a little too much on them. I thought he's been pretty good supplementing the team, but they still are a one-dimensional team. They're very good at that one dimension, maybe the best in the league at it. But it shows it time and time again. Some doors can't be opened with a key. Some doors need to be kicked down, and we need that element into this morphine team if we can get it. We seem to add a couple bits here and there right at the end. I think we need to build something into the mix at the beginning of the year and let it move along.
Yeah, Coach, it's a results league. The Leafs, look, they achieved a lot of results, I guess, but when it mattered most, they fell short. What do you make of the commitment to management and coaches this early in the offseason?
I think it's a mistake, guys. And I think it's a mistake for two reasons, either of which could apply. So, yes, it's a business. Yeah, they got 4 home dates. They got a crowd for 4 home dates. That's terrific. If they run that like a business, like a for-profit business, you want more than that. Any other business, okay, outside of sports, you guys, Kev, you're an analyst. You know all kinds of businesses. I know I've been in the business world forever. If you don't get the results that your company's goal is, or in your job, in your region, in your whatever, and you don't do it consistently, you don't get to keep your job.
Yeah.
And the results here wasn't 115 points or 110 or whatever it is. It was getting out of the first round. So it just from a pure business context, I think it's a mistake. I think what complicates that is you got those 2 rivals that own the company. Who's going to pull the trigger, right? That one guy is waiting for the other guy to say something so he could tell him he's stupid. And so you get some gridlock there. I do like Brendan Shanahan, and if he says it's okay, it's probably good enough for those 2 entities. Here's the other reason why I think it's a mistake. Because of last year. Guys, this was not an egregious loss. Tampa could win the cup again. They're that good, and we needed a bounce in Game 6. But the problem was last year. Last year was laid right out for us. Weak division, extremely weak first-round competitor or opponent, and we couldn't get it done. And so what you do after last year is, okay, we can run the same coach and GM back, but that's it.
Right.
They have one more chance to get through the round, and they didn't. And it doesn't really matter how they didn't. They didn't.
Right.
So I think it's a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like maybe they might have changed their mission or a purpose statement, but I can certainly abide what you said there, Coach. It makes sense. I'm a bit on the fence on this one. I know it's the same old result. Coach, you kind of touched on this last year, and even the year before that, were the two really kind of iffy ones. This year, there's a very reasonable chance that they took the Stanley Cup, the three-time Stanley Cup champ, to the brink. If I had to put money down on it today, I'd probably say Tampa's the team to beat. So, maybe they are the second best team, but what does that really matter? It sounds awful in my ears. It tastes bad in my mouth saying it out loud. But look, there are coaches available. That's the other thing. It seems a little odd that they were so quick, in my opinion, to jump out on top of this. But maybe they got some heavy lifting to do, and they want their team in place so that they can start getting to work right away. So. You said in the last pod, Coach, that, it's all going to come down to whether or not they sit in front of Shanahan and say, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do moving forward. I'm assuming that meeting happened and he had his socks blown off. Because if not, I'm with you. I think it was on the wall. Like, we're getting out of the first round. No ifs, ands, or buts. And anyways, let's move on. If there was a coach or GM out there that you think would be a really good fit for this team, and I know this is just playing around, but who would it be? What particular coach? What particular GM? Why? Why do you think they'd be a good fit, Coach?
Well, I'll stick to coaches pretty much, at least to start. The guy Keefe replaced is a better coach than him. And he would be a better coach for this team, Mike Babcock. He's coached stars. So that was a mistake, I believe, letting him go. But we got Keefe. He's his hand-picked guy. You can't bring Babcock back. I'm just saying he's a better coach. I wish we hadn't let him go. I might have been in the minority back then, but there you go. So Joel Quenneville would be a terrific choice. I think he's better than the guy we have. I'm not sure how Trotz or Tortorella fit with the roster, but I would like the greater attention to detail and the better chance of winning in the playoffs. Are they going to compromise us some points during the year? Yeah. But you know what we're going to learn? A system that can win in the playoffs. How the hell did Tortorella beat us 2 years ago with that Columbus roster, right? Mm-hmm. And Barry Trotz is built for playoff success. How do the Islanders ever won a round in the last 5 years? My goodness, right? Matt Martin couldn't play for us. He's getting big minutes there. So yep. I think those guys could be good too. I would love Bruce Boudreau to become available because I'd love to see him here. A guy who's not working right now, Claude Julien, I think he'd be good too. Now, like many of these guys are recycled, but let me throw one at you that isn't. Oh, Rick Tockett's another guy. Let me throw one at you that isn't. How about Spencer Carberry? So he did a great job during this season. He's an up-and-comer. He hasn't had playoff success or any success like these other guys, but he's an innovator. So maybe that's another guy. I think he gets scooped up somewhere, maybe not this year, but soon. In terms of GM, I would say I don't mind keeping Dubas for another year. I think it's a mistake. They should have cleared house. But if you're going to, he's done a pretty good job the last 2 years. His mistake was the handcuffing himself with those contracts. So I give him this offseason and see if he can go find another Camp Kasha, that type of thing.
Yeah. All right, KD, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, well, I think the problem is when you look at the whole structure is, Dubas has built this thing. And I don't know if a lot of the coaches we're looking at you can plug in. Like, I think if you're going to go that way, other than maybe a Quenneville, if you're going to keep Dubas, I think the one guy you look at is maybe Quenneville. He can coach that style. He likes to, he loves to stretch pass. He loves the skaters. He likes that he could, I think, take that team. I think if you're going to really change the coach, you probably need to change the GM. The one guy I would look if I were to change the GM would be Jim Rutherford. I know he wants to get back in the game. He has made a good habit of trading, making big splashes, moving big contracts, moving people around. I think he also understands he's done it more than once where he's taken a team that was close and made a big change in order to push them over the edge. So that
Hey, Kev, that's Rutherford, right? You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I think with the existing group, like I don't mind keeping the existing group if they want to actually adjust the process. Like they have this process that they swear by, and it's not working in the playoffs. So if they would just go back and change, we've seen in sports a lot. I'll use a tennis analogy. Novak Djokovic got killed against Roger Federer and Nadal. He changed his diet, he changed everything to change his game. Now he's the best. Now he's the top dog. He beat both those guys. So you can change it and at least have the talent. They have like tremendous skill all through their lineup. But what they need to do is adjust to be a little more successful in the playoffs. So if Dubas can't do it, I'd like to get someone who has that vision to take this, adjust it, tinker it, tweak it, do what Detroit did, do what Washington did, do what those teams did, make a couple key strategic moves to push them over the top.
Yeah, the question is, are they these guys, right? Kev, you sounded a little like Rocky in Rocky IV. If I could change, you could change, everybody could change. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. So now that Dubas and Keefe are kind of locked in for another go round here, guys, what's the leash length? I mean, let's start with Keefe. What keeps him as head coach beyond for the Leafs beyond next season? Like, what gets him canned, or what keeps him there? Like, what does he got to do? Go ahead, Coach. You go first.
So look, if Dubas stays on and through the free agent period, I think he's got to stay the year. So, he's got a longer leash, but part of his leash is going to be pulling the trigger on Keefe if need be.
Right.
So I think Keefe cannot survive a long losing streak. They didn't have one this year, so he could be okay. But look, nothing in the regular season is going to predict playoff success, right? So it's not like you want Keefe to succeed in the playoffs. If they go on a losing streak, I think he's done. And that's the last bullet Dubas has to fire, right, is getting rid of his coach. Then he's on a super short leash. But if he doesn't, I don't know if it fixes what we got that ails us in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We've got other pods coming, folks, that will address positional things. Stay tuned because they are coming. So how about Dubas? Like, what must the Leafs what do they got to change? What is the purpose of this offseason for him in order to find success? He put a pretty good group of skaters on the ice last year.
Yeah. Kev, don't you think it's fundamental? Don't you think do you double down again on skill, or do you try and get tougher? Don't you think that's it?
Mike, you just said it. He put another great group of skaters on the ice. He's good at that. He can put skaters on the ice. There's no question. They need to score on the inside. Like it's becoming more like it's so very apparent. They were so good on the outside. They stifled the Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay went into a shell, and they couldn't score inside on the power play, and they couldn't score in the tight games when they needed to down low. And that's the difference. That's them. Us talking about their matchup against Florida. Had we had that one guy to crash and get a rebound and do whatever, we would be right now. We'd be talking about tonight's game. That's what the pod would be. So
Paul,
Paul, maybe,
Corey
maybe.
Perry,
and he tried. I mean, granted, he did try to add a little bit of a little bit of meat, and he tried to do that at the beginning of the year. It didn't work. But he's got to keep going back to that. He's got to try and find the inside. It doesn't have to be a massive bruiser per se, but we got to learn how to score on the inside because the playoffs are different than the regular season, and that peripheral stuff doesn't work.
We're going to get into it, as I mentioned, folks, in the coming pods, and I'm probably going to differ from you guys a little bit. I've seen, we've talked about some of the moves that I can anticipate you guys are being interested in. I don't think it's the forward group that you have to do a whole lot to. If you look at the exits the Leafs have had in the first round, You look at the opponents that they've lost to. You look at the teams that have gone far in the playoffs. It's not necessarily being big and strong up front, but it's about having a whole lot of size on the back end. And if the Leafs aren't going to do that, it's not going to make a difference, in my opinion. Well, there you have it, folks. It's a long off season, and we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be bringing to you. Listen, leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear about, what you want us to talk about, because we're going to bring it to you. We promise. And we're going to do everything we have to make sure that it's a great off season for you. Look, we got some pretty good guests lined up that we think are going to be dropping pretty soon. And we're just happy to be here. We know you are too, right here on the Ozone.